Good morning, everyone. Well, thank you, Alison, Vox Lumina, and Catherine. What a beautiful way to start this morning. A service when we're going to look at how we slow down and how we pay attention to things. Many of you will have heard or read David Foster Wallace's piece, "This is Water." It was originally a commencement speech to the graduating class of Kenyon College in 2005, so 21 years ago. It was later made into this small book. He opens with a story. There are these two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming in the other direction, who nods at them and says, "Mornin', boys, how's the water?" And the two young fish nod, swim on for a bit, and then one of them eventually turns to the other and says, "What the hell is water?" And of course, the point of the fish story is that the most obvious, most important realities are often the ones that are hardest for us to see and or hardest to talk about. His commencement speech goes on to remind students that a liberal arts education is not so much about filling you up with knowledge as it is about teaching you how to think. It's a common message in commencement speeches, and one which many students find a little bit offensive. But Wallace clarifies that the education in thinking isn't really about the capacity to think, but rather about the choice of what we think about. It means being conscious and aware enough to choose what we pay attention to and choose how we construct meaning from experience. It all depends on what we pay attention to. So here's the quote from David Foster Wallace. In the day-to-day trenches of life, he says, if the verb worship means what we consider worthy, there's no such thing as not worshiping. Everybody worships. The only choice we get is what to worship. Each one of us, every day, gets to consciously decide in our own lives what has meaning and what doesn't. Welcome to Sunday morning at the North Shore Unitarians. Please rise as you're able to sing our opening song, Feeling Groovy. All right, feeling groovy, joyful. Well, good morning again. My name's Rebecca. I'm your service cat this morning. Did someone say cats? Did I mention that we just got kittens? Have I mentioned that? Oh, sorry. I do have a few more photos. I know you were curious to see how they've grown. All right. A big hearty welcome to everyone. Thank you for coming here this morning, here to the home of the North Shore Unitarians, a beautiful building in a lovely little bit of the woods on this corner of the North Shore, the lands of the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people. We gather here every Sunday to talk about the big things, to ask the big questions, to consider what is the water in our lives, what might be sacred, what is life, and how can we keep our eyes on the stars and our feet on the ground, aware of something larger than our own little goldfish bowl perspective of the world. Our mission here is to inspire people to live with greater depth, meaning, and purpose, and we do all of that in the loving embrace of community. Each week here, we start our services with the lighting of candles and our chalice, and today I invite up Megan Mitchell to help light the candles with us. Megan first came here as a child in the 90s and participated in the children's program and OWL, and she began attending again about a year and a half ago as an adult. And Megan says it feels like home. She says it feels like Cheers, that place where everybody knows your name. What keeps her coming back are the connections, the joy of singing together, the Sunday themes that offer something to reflect upon in the week. And she appreciates the inclusivity and shared values of this community. 3 fun facts about Megan. She has a New Zealand citizenship through her dad. She has a vehement dislike of green peppers. Ask her about that one. And she has...
I gotta step in on that one.
Oh, okay.
Regarding the green peppers, even when they're on a pizza, looking at you, Mom, You can't just take them off. I know they were there.
I can see how this is going to go. Okay. Okay, she also has this beautiful Labrador retriever named Solo, who pretty much runs her life. More about the dog in a minute. All right, as we begin this service, we kindle this flame as a symbol of our gathering. May the light of understanding illuminate our darkness. May the warmth of sharing bring us peace. Next, we'll light our candle of joys and sorrows. So let's start with some joys. From the board, I offer the news that the property 380 Mathers purchase is complete. That property, now belongs to the church. Really amazing. So a little bit about that. So I just first of all want to thank the board, and particularly Brian Wellwood and Barry, who spent an inordinate amount of time to make this happen. So thanks to them. And then, you can clap. Okay. The other really important people to thank are John Biasucci and Gail Lehman, who bought that property more than a decade ago with the intention of keeping it in safe hands so that whatever happened for the future of the church, that could be part of this property. And as things kind of have rolled forwards, John then has sold it to the church so that we're a complete kind of 6-property piece. They very kindly sold it to the church at the 2026 assessment value, which of course was lower than the 2025. So generous to kind of honor the word of we will purchase it for the current value. So just really want to honor John, who will watch this service later. Really want to thank you, John and Gail, for all that you did around that. One other little joy about our property, there was a lovely team here yesterday working on the butterfly garden. So Megan was part of that, Shay Rutherford was part of that, Bob Rentz, Michelle Sheardown, Jim and Marcia Stevenson, Jean and Stuart. So huge thanks to those folks for working on our garden. Are there other joys to share? Joys from our community? There are a couple sorrows. Karen Freed, member of the choir, usually sits right there in the front row, has been in hospital this week. She's home again, feeling a little better, but she would welcome cards or emails or connections. Any other sorrows? I think Pat is still recovering at home. All right, and now we'll light our last candle, the candle of global concern. Thank you, Megan. Well, so much going on in the world. No King's Day yesterday. Lots we could read in the news today about that. Wars in the Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, Iran, Sudan, Myanmar, Yemen, Syria. It just goes on. So let us this morning just sit with it all. Let's just breathe it in and breathe it out. And we'll invite Allison up here to lead us in a singing meditation moment. Please relax once you've got the 2 lines of lyrics that there are to this singing meditation, and you're welcome to close your eyes and just be in the moment.
So we're going to start with just breathe in. And when you feel comfortable with that, I'll move into the second line, which goes, when I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. So I will continue with just doing the breathing, and Rebecca will do the when I breathe in motif. So you just pick whichever one you feel most comfortable with. I will just doing it until we're all relaxed, however long that might take. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe in, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in,
May we all remember to breathe deeply as we face more and more news and negativity in the world today and all this week. Okay, a service about what we worship. Take it away, Megan.
Thank you, Service Cat. Service Dog taking over now. When I heard the question and topic for today, what do we worship, I couldn't help thinking about my dog named Solo. Not because I worship the dog, actually I probably do, but because caring for her has taught me something about what is actually worthy of my devotion. Because if worship has something to do with loyalty, attention, and showing up day after day, dogs might actually be the true experts. Solo is my white Labrador retriever, and I got her 6 years ago after a pretty tough breakup when I decided to put my heart and soul into loving something again. And Solo takes devotion very seriously. When I walk in the door, she greets me like I've just returned from some heroic journey and not just a 5-minute trip to the grocery store to get milk. Her tail starts wagging so hard it could probably clear a coffee table, and it definitely has before. She follows me around everywhere in the house, every room, every hallway, even those moments when you might actually prefer a little bit of privacy. But caring for her has changed my life in ways I really didn't expect. For one thing, she's really given my life a rhythm. I'm up early now. I get outside every day. She makes sure I get my steps in. And even when I don't feel like going out, I always feel better after a dog walk. And over time, that kind of daily care, it really starts to shape you. Walking with her makes me notice things I might otherwise miss, like the stillness of the trees and the salty sea air at the beach and the changing of the seasons. But something else happens when you walk with a dog. People talk to you, like everyone talks to us. And you instantly have something in common, something to smile about. The dog removes all of the barriers and really invites connection. Through our daily walks, I've gotten to know all of the neighbors, and I really do feel part of the community now. Everyone knows Solo. And it's funny because I know all of the neighbors, but we don't really know each other's names. We always just know the dogs' names. And when we're on our walks, she's always dragging me to all these houses in the neighborhood because she knows exactly who's going to give her treats. She really has a way of bringing people together and just a really remarkable ability to spread joy. Even something as simple as just sticking her head out the car window and her ears are flapping in the wind and her nose is out air sniffing and taking in the world. It just makes me smile, and sometimes cars next to us, they stop and they see her white head out the window and they just start smiling and waving at the dog. I saw that clearly as well the first time I brought her to Lionsgate Hospital. She was only 4 months old, kind of like this big. I tucked her inside the ski jacket that I was wearing so that she could visit my stepmom, who had just been hospitalized. When one of the nurses realized I had smuggled in a puppy, I thought I was toast and about to get kicked out of the hospital. But instead, all of the nurses on the floor came rushing over because everyone wanted to meet this cute dog. Looking back, I realized Solo didn't just receive my care. In many ways, she's helped care for me too. And she reminded me how quietly healing companionship can be, how powerful loyalty is, how unconditional love, the kind that greets you every day with a wagging tail, can gently mend a heart. And if I'm honest, I'm fairly certain Solo knows exactly who she worships. So when I think about the question, what do you worship? I find myself thinking about what we give our attention, our time, and our love to. Because what we return to day after day, what we care for, what we show up for, quietly shapes the lives we live. And over these past 6 years, this joyful, loyal, tennis ball finding dog has reminded me that companionship, connection, and unconditional love are among the most worthy things we can devote our lives to.
Thank you, Megan. Your words, Megan, remind me of a quote attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson. He didn't talk about dog people, just saying. But anyway, he said, "A person will worship something, have no doubt about it. We may think our tribute is paid in secret to the dark recesses of our hearts, but it will out. That which dominates our imaginations and our thoughts will determine our lives and our character. Therefore, it behooves us to be careful what we worship, for what we are worshiping, we are becoming." And we actually have another person in our congregation who's going to come up and share what we worship, and that's Elizabeth Chang. Come on up, Elizabeth.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Chang. A little bit about me is I got married in this church 29 years ago. Harold Rosen was the reverend at that time and married us. My father and my mother came here, you know, Betty McMillan, and my father, late John McMillan. And I just want to mention these candles that are lit every week were made, you said John Biasucci made? No, Maurice made them. Maurice made them. And they are in memory of my father. So, I have two boys, Matthew and Christopher. Both went through the RE program here when Lynn Sabarin was running that. And so it's been, almost over 30 years that I've been involved in the church. I was asked to write or talk about what it is that I worship, and I really have not thought about that for probably ever. In fact, I had to look up the definition of worship. And on top of that, I asked Siri, what do you worship? Do you want to know what Siri said? Okay. Siri said, "Hi, I'm glad you asked. I'm sure you would like to know. But unfortunately, I don't have a soul." I went, And the Siri carried on. "In fact, I don't have a belief system. I don't worship in the spiritual sense. I don't experience awe or devotion or the need to find a higher power." And it went on and on and on. There was a little bit about, perhaps if it is connecting with people and finding things out for you, that may be what I worship. However, I guess for myself, when I think about worship after going through talking to Siri and looking it up in the dictionary, I find that it is what I'm dedicated to, what my entire existence is centered around. And that's probably how I view worship. But I find the following experiences in my life I find worthy, and I want them in my life all the time. So I don't actually have a specific day or time of the week that I go and worship these things. In fact, some of these things happen in mere seconds. They can be unplanned, they can be organic. I also think that at times I also do seek them out if I'm trying to connect to my inward self, the core of my being, to try and nourish myself and to feel connectedness to everything around me, to find balance in everything I do. So here are some of the things that I find are worthy. Silence, laughter, listening, love, warmth, music, singing, sunlight, family, that would include pets, stars, sunsets, gardens, forests, very deep thoughts shared with anyone, learning and being helpful. And that's what I came up with. What do I worship? Thank you.
Allison?
So this song got conceived also in response to that great question, what do we worship? What gives worth? And as I thought about that, I realized that a great and perhaps true way of measuring what do I give worth to is what do I spend my time with? And I realized there was two opposing forces. One was busyness, which is also creativity, which is wonderful, but it can become too intense and too busy, and I can be addicted to it. And then the other is finding my way through that to peace. So this song was very much a response to that question.
And you're welcome to join in on the chorus with the choir. The world is rushing by me, all hurry, noise, and fear. The days grow ever louder, and I can't always hear the quiet voice within me that whispers soft and low. Let go of what you cling to and make some room to grow. Let it go, let it be, lay this heavy down and breathe. In the gentle in-between, find the stillness underneath. Let it go, let it be, all the noise will turn away. In the silence of your heart, you will find your truest way. We carry thoughts that bind us, old stories worn and thin. They crowd the quiet places where truth waits to come in. But when we loose our burdens we've carried far too long, we hear the deeper rhythm, a softer, wiser song. Let it go, let it be, lay this heavy down and breathe. In the gentle in-between, find the stillness underneath. Let it go, let it be, all the noise will fade away. In the silence of your heart, you will find the truest way. So step into the silence, the quiet of the soul. Release this endless striving, you do not need control. For in your Quam center, where all the echoes cease, we find our deeper being. Come home to quiet peace. Let it go, let it be, lay this heavy down and breathe. In the gentle in-between, find the stillness underneath. Let it go, let it be, all the noise will fade away. In the silence of your heart, you will find your
Amazing, Allison. Thank you. So lots of thoughts about what do we worship. Let's dig into this a little bit more. The author Alice Walker, one of her famous lines was, "I think it pisses God off if you walk by the color purple in a field somewhere and you don't notice it." Her words a great reminder that attention and gratitude go hand in hand. A little aside about the book, The Color Purple, published in 1982, won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 1983, making Alice Walker the first Black woman to win the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 1983. That novel garnered critical acclaim, winning many awards. It's also been the subject of great controversy, having been banned and censored many times, many places. Just 3 years later, it was adapted into the film of the same name. Do you remember this? Steven Spielberg, Whoopi Goldberg, Danny Glover, Oprah Winfrey, nominated for 11 Academy Awards. How many did it win? 0. Fast forward 20 years, The Color Purple was made into a Broadway musical in the early 2000s, then receiving multiple Tony Awards and Grammy Award for the Best Musical Show Album. And then the musical was made into a film just in 2023, well received, won many awards. I think the world just wasn't ready or willing to pay attention to the awful history, those harsh issues, in the audacious way that the story was told by Walker back in the 80s. And 20 years later, by the early 21st century, we were ready. We were willing to pay attention. Amazing words and stories shared by Allison, Elizabeth, and Megan, just reminding us that so much depth and meaning and magic and mystery can just pass us by in life if we're not awake or attentive to it. What's the science of attention, though? What does that really mean? Well, all mental activity, our brain's ability to process sights and sounds, thoughts and feelings, conscious and unconscious processes, all of that is based on neural activity, signaling that happens in networks between 1 billion neurons, nerve cells, brain cells, with about 0.5 quadrillion connections between them in our brain called synapses. And all of this is incredibly fast and complex and dynamic. Ongoing neural activity is continually changing our brain. The active connection pathways become more sensitive. New synapses start growing within minutes. The busy regions of our brain get more blood because they need more oxygen and glucose sugar to do their work. And the genes inside the neurons turn on or off. It's amazing. And meanwhile, the less active connections, they wither away. Neuroscience actually calls it neural Darwinism, the survival of the busiest. In neuroscience, they have a saying, 2 sayings. One is neurons that fire together, wire together. And the second saying is mental states become neural traits. So interesting. Day after day, our mind is building our brain. And it's what scientists call neuroplasticity. And they've proven that neuroplasticity is experience-dependent. Experience-dependent neuroplasticity. So there's an old saying, the mind takes its shape from that which it rests upon. And based upon what we've learned about experience-dependent neuroplasticity, it's true. If we keep resting our mind on self-criticism and worries and grumbling about others, then our brain will be shaped into greater reactivity, greater vulnerability to anxiety, depression, a much narrower focus on threats and losses. But on the other hand, if we keep resting our mind on good events, conditions, feelings, hey, that person was nice to me. Oh, I have a roof over my head. Or the things that we get done in a day, or our good intentions or qualities, then over time, our brain actually takes a different shape. One with strength, resilience, a more realistically optimistic outlook, and a sense of worth actually being kind of wired into it. So in effect, what we pay attention to, what we rest our mind upon, actually shapes our brain. And of course, some things in the world naturally grab our attention. A problem at work, a physical pain, a serious worry. But on the whole, we have a whole lot of influence over where our mind rests. And that means we can choose to deliberately prolong or even create experiences that shape our brain for the better. There's this neuroscientist, Hansen. He's written a neat book called Hardwiring Happiness, the New Brain Science of Contentment, Calm, and Confidence. And he has a very simplified way of saying this. He says, for better or for worse, your attention is the combination of a spotlight and a vacuum cleaner. It highlights what it lands upon and then sucks it into your brain. I just love that simplification. Okay, so let's take that idea of attention just a little bit further. There was this study done at Harvard in 2010. Two researchers, Killingsworth and Gilbert, they surveyed more than 2,000 adults. And they more than surveyed them, they put them in a whole research study, and they asked them what they were thinking day to day. And it turns out if you ask someone many times a day for many days what they're thinking, you start to assemble a kind of quantitative existential portraits of a person. And then if you do that for many people, you can find larger patterns and tendencies in human thought and behavior, which allows us to correlate moments of happiness with particular thoughts and action. So the team actually was simple. They developed a phone app. And basically, it periodically sampled people's thoughts and activities. At random times throughout the day, a participant's phone would chime, ping, and it would present them with a very brief questionnaire. It asked them how happy they are on a scale from 1 to 100, what they were doing, and if they were thinking about what they were doing. And then subjects were asked if they weren't thinking about what they were doing, whether the associated feeling was pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. So, of course, they gathered all the evidence, they standardized the responses, and they came up with this research of 2,250 people. It turns out that 47% of the time, almost half the time, our minds are not focused on what we're doing. But even more striking is that this study showed people feel less happy when their minds are wandering. So this study shows, yes, our minds wander a lot, and that we're happiest when we are thinking about what we are doing. And although imagining unpleasant alternatives was naturally less appealing or less preferable to imagining pleasant ones, the happiest scenario was when we are not imagining at all. A person who's ironing a shirt and thinking about ironing is actually happier than someone who's thinking about a sunny getaway. That's wild. Okay, but then what about the kinds of activities we do? Surely those who are at a party or traveling the world are happier than the quiet ones who stay at home, reading a book, going to bed early. Not the case. According to the data from this Harvard study, the particular way you spend your day doesn't actually reflect on how happy you are. It's about mental presence, the matching of thought to action. That's amazing. That suggests a wonderfully simple prescription for greater happiness. It isn't about doing the biggest, best, or most noble thing. It's about paying attention to whatever we're doing. And those who have learned how to really focus their attention on the present moment are good athletes, good thinkers, good listeners. They're good workers at anything, garbage collection or physics. Because the gathering of the attention connects mind, heart, and body into a balanced state of awareness, readiness to act or be present. And all of this so beautifully ties to our beloved poet Mary Oliver's famous line, "Attention is the beginning of devotion." A lovely way of saying attention is deep noticing, and noticing deeply inevitably leads to love. On Thursday, this past Thursday, Jell, Bruce, and I attended a performance. It was a bit bizarre. It was a 1-hour kind of quasi-comedy, quasi-modern-day sermon by a deep thinker. His name was Kevin Makins. And in the midst of his 4-part act, he embedded this question: is religion as powerful today in our daily lives as it was 100 years ago? And like on the surface, the obvious answer is no, given that churches are closing, temples are closing, fewer and fewer people on this continent anyway consider themselves religious. Spiritual but not religious is a growing category, but that's another topic. So to answer that question, we first have to come up with a definition of religion. So let's just say it's a system of shared beliefs and practices engaged with sacred narratives or texts or rituals or prayer or music, and those beliefs or practices serve the community that share them. Alternatively, we can look at the origin of the word religion. It comes from the Latin word religio, which means reverence for a sacred thing, reverence for the gods or a sacred thing. And it is thought to come from the verb religare, which means to reconnect, to bind back, to bind with intensity. Okay, so if we accept that as the definition of religion, Kevin Makins, this speaker on Thursday night, he said 100 years ago, people who had to work harder for everyday living, right? We didn't have everything electronic. He said, what happened 100 years ago was any leftover energy or time, mostly for most of the population, got put into religion. But he postulates that people today put the same amount of time, money, and attention into many other daily activities, like following a sports team or listening to their favorite musician or watching Instagram or other popular culture things. And he challenged us to deny that those types of activities are a form of religion too, because they too have their own sacred narratives and symbols and rituals and dance and billions of dollars invested. So beyond the usual things that we talk about people today paying way too much attention to, things like power, beauty, consumerism, intellect, he chose to highlight our choice of recreational activities as a new religion. Interesting. He worked through a couple examples. He poked fun at Taylor Swift fans. Clearly, they make a pilgrimage to concerts, which are full of music and dance and sacred symbols. And he even playfully commented on the Eras concert in 2023. This made the news. The Seattle's Lumen Field, where the concert happened, the dancing and jumping of the record 72,000 Swifties who were there registered a seismic activity equivalent to a 2.3 magnitude earthquake. So he said, the earth shook. It's a religion. Similar seismic events have been recorded by cheering fans at sports events in similar stadiums. So this performance on Thursday night, it pushed at the edge of theology. It said people are still religious today, just to different things. But then he pushed further. He said, maybe there's still a compelling reason for us to choose some type of spiritual thing to worship, whether it's Jesus or Allah or the great energy of the universe or the Wiccan Mother Goddess, or the Four Noble Truths, or amazingly great 8 UU principles. That there's a compelling reason to choose something less in popular culture, which are admittedly fun and enjoyable, because at the end of the day, those things, once the moment is over, well, we can kind of be left feeling hollow or empty. And at worst, it can leave us feeling eaten alive. All of that is good food for thought. It doesn't mean we're wrong to enjoy Taylor Swift or the World Series or Instagram, but it is worth us asking if they represent the things, the values that are actually worthy of our deepest attention. Like, are they truly worthy of the time, money, and dedication that they receive in our collective lives? Knowing that all of us have limited capacity, assets, and energy for devotion. That kind of worship that he poked fun at, those things are overtly alluring. They're sometimes also insidiously addicting, and we can just gradually, unconsciously slip into day after day, year upon year, slowly being changed in really where we're putting our attention. And we can become more and more selective about what we see and how we measure value without really being aware that that is what's happening. And over time, that can become our default setting. Till we stop one day and wonder why we feel like bleak and unfulfilled, why we have this constant gnawing ache for something bigger, better, deeper. And on so many ways, we know this already. You're here for this very reason. This message in the world has been told many times over the years through myths, parables, proverbs, cliches, Instagram posts, and TikTok videos. But in a world where technology increasingly controls our time and attention, it becomes more difficult to keep that truth really upfront in our consciousness. That truth that attention is the beginning of devotion, both for the good and the not so good. So may we ask ourselves, what in my life is the equivalent of the water in David Foster Wallace's story? What is it that I don't realize I'm so deeply in that I can be caught thinking, what the heck is water? And what is it that instead we could choose to give our attention to? What could really benefit from more of our attention so that we feel less bleak and empty and more fulfilled? Hard questions, no easy answers, but all of it worthy of our attention and reflection. Amen. Amen. May it be so.
What if, as you woke up one day, you suddenly saw or heard that you were enough? You are enough. When we woke up, the world was figured out, beyond the beauty we've dreamt about. This brilliant light, brighter than we've known, without our darkness to prove it so. Still we can't help but to examine it, to add our question marks to periods. At the foot of our bed we found an envelope. You're enough, you're enough, you're enough, you are enough. These little words, they're changing us. So we let our shadows fall away like dust. When we grew up, our shadows grew up too, but they're just old ghosts that we grow attached to. The tragic flaw is that they hide the truth, that you're enough, you're enough, you're enough. I promise you, you're enough, you're enough. I promise you, you're enough, you're enough. I promise you. You're enough, you're enough, you're enough, you are enough. These little words, somehow they're changing us. You're enough, you're enough, you are enough. So we let our shadows fall away like dust. You're enough, you're enough, you're enough. These little words, somehow they're changing us. Let it go, let it go. You're enough. So we let our shadows fall away like dust.
Take a deep breath and move into the spiritual practice of generosity. As we do every week, the designated funds in our collection plate go directly to local, not-for-profit registered charities that are community-minded and align with our values. The undesignated funds go to support our internal operations. This March, we've been collecting all month for the Wild Bird Trust of BC, which manages Maplewood Flats, just east of Second Narrows. The flats provide wild birds with sanctuary through ecological protection and restoration. You can donate today using a variety of methods as indicated on the screen. And if you want to pay by cash, please grab a white envelope from the seat back, put your name on it, and we'll send you a tax receipt at the end of the year. And if you wish to donate to the Wild World Trust, please mark the envelope for the outreach recipient. Please give as generously as you're able. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for all your offerings and all the ways you contribute to community, both within these walls and beyond. Thank you to all the ways people help contribute to the community and to the services. We also give thanks to everyone who pledges and contributes annually to support our staff, our service team, and these beautiful facilities. The work of this community relies on financial support. We also have a wonderful group of people who volunteer for things like cleaning up and gardens, and we really appreciate all the way time, talent, and treasures people continue to contribute to make this community happen. A few announcements. Please join us after the service downstairs for a lovely sandwich lunch arranged by Diane. Suggestion is $5 a person, but please just come regardless. Little note, as you go downstairs, there's a lot more furniture and things in it. The Cuddles Daycare has moved some furniture that actually belongs to us into downstairs, and that happened quite late in the week, so we haven't quite reorganized it all yet. So that will change. Just accept the disruption for this week. Suzanne Krebs has started a new Soul Matters group, which is wonderful. So the third Tuesday of the month from 10 to 11:30. The next one is on April 21st. Soul Matters are UU groups that meet once a month to discuss a theme, and it's based on a short package of poems and readings and links. And gathering in a group to kind of have these conversations is one of the ways we build our web of connection and support. So if you're interested, please speak to Suzanne. Maybe just wave, Suzanne, so people know your hand. There you go. Thank you for taking that on, Suzanne. Next week, Sue is going to lead a service on Easter weekend about the mystery of the mind, which segues nicely from today's talk about consciousness, right? So her words are, every morning you wake up, consciousness returns, your lights come on, but why? Why would any collection of matter in the universe become aware of itself? So on this Easter Sunday, we'll explore two kinds of awakening. First, the ancient story of resurrection, and then the everyday miracle that happens in the very here and now. It's a celebration of renewal that asks a question that science still cannot answer. What's it like to be you? Are there any other last-minute announcements? All right, then let us rise together and sing the lovely hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use, to build the common good, and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use, to build the common good, and make our own days
Thank you. Please be seated. Together, we'll close our service. We extinguish this flame, but carry with us the light of vision and the warmth of hope. The world calls us to live with depth, meaning, and purpose. We go forth with courage and love. Well, thank you for paying attention today. Thank you for worshiping together today. Thank you for being here and being willing to ask hard questions. Deepak Chopra said, conscious change is brought about by two qualities that are inherent in consciousness: intention and attention. Whatever we put our attention on will grow stronger in our life. And whatever we take our attention away from will wither, disintegrate, and disappear. Indeed, experience-dependent neuroplasticity. So may we remember that that which dominates our imaginations and our thoughts will determine our lives and our character. What we are worshiping, we are becoming. Thank you, friends. Let us circle round.